are truths so ancient and unsettling that humanity has tried to bury them beneath layers of silence. Among them is a secret that lives in the most intimate part of your being, the mystery of desire that surrounds those marked by destiny, the chosen ones. You have always sensed it, haven't you? Nights when your heart raced for no reason, when a quiet force pulsed through your body like a code written into your very DNA. Encounters that felt bigger than human passion, or moments when you froze at the threshold of intimacy, as if an unseen hand whispered, "Not this one. Not now." If these words reach something deep inside you, it is because you already know that your sexuality does not fit the narrow definitions of this world. Religion preached purity. Society demanded restraint. Culture wrapped everything in shame. Yet none of it explained the electric current you feel in the space between spirit and flesh. You are not broken. You are not strange. You are chosen. And the energy that stirs within you is ancient, cosmic, unstoppable. Stay with me until the very end of this journey. What I will reveal is not theory or fantasy. It is lived truth. The patterns you feared were curses or sacred codes. The confusion you carried is not madness. It is initiation. Tonight we will unveil 5 hidden habits of the chosen ones. Habits that reveal why your desire has always felt different, why it has frightened you and yet called you toward something more. But before we step into this journey, I want you to pause and mark this moment. If you feel that what I'm saying speaks directly to your soul, write the number 99 in the comments. Spiritually, 99 is the symbol of completion, the end of an old cycle and the birth of a new one. By writing it, you're declaring that you are ready to leave behind the pain of secrecy and step into the liberation of your true spiritual identity. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe now, because the revelations ahead will take you deeper into mysteries that most people will never dare to face. These truths are not meant for the masses. They are meant for you. From this point on, the veil begins to fall. Take a slow breath. Feel the quiet strength rising inside you. The truths we are about to uncover are not meant for the masses. They are meant for those who know they were never meant to live an ordinary life. Let us begin. There are nights when you wake as if someone has touched you, heart pounding, skin alive with a charge you cannot explain. The room is empty, silent, unchanged, and yet you know you have just experienced something intimate and powerful. If this has happened to you, you are not imagining it and you are not broken. You are encountering one of the most mysterious realities of those marked by destiny, energetic intimacy with the unseen. For the chosen, sexuality does not always involve another human being. It emerges as an encounter with beings that live in frequency rather than flesh. Some describe a gentle presence wrapping them in warmth, a vibration that feels like love itself. Others speak of a surge of energy so fierce it feels like a storm moving through every nerve. These visitations arrive without warning or invitation, crossing the boundaries of time and space to use the body as a portal of union. Ancient mystics understood this secret long before modern language could name it. They taught that sexual energy is the purest expression of life force, the fire that sustains the universe. When that fire awakens in a chosen soul, it sends a signal into realms beyond sight. Allies and predators alike respond. Some spirits come to heal, to teach, to awaken hidden layers of your essence. Others come only to feed, to drain, to leave you hollow in ways no human partner ever could. That is why these experiences feel so contradictory. One night you awaken electrified, filled with clarity that lingers for days as if heaven itself has touched you. Another night you may rise weak and unsettled, a shadow hanging over your spirit. Every energetic union leaves an imprint, a cord, a thread woven between your essence and the essence of another being. Unless you learn how to cleanse and protect your energy, you may carry the fingerprints of entities that were never meant to merge with you. This is not merely a modern discovery. Shamans, priestesses, and prophets across cultures spoke of sacred unions with the invisible. They warned that when this energy activates, it becomes a beacon in the dark. What you attract depends on the state of your own vibration. If your heart is aligned with love and clarity, luminous allies can appear. If you are burdened with fear or unresolved wounds, darker forces may answer the call. Perhaps you have felt it yourself. The weight of a presence pressing against your chest. the sensation of lips brushing your skin when no one is there, the shiver of a kiss that burns without a body. These are not dreams. They are unions that transcend flesh. Once experienced, they change forever the way you understand intimacy, but every union is a contract. Every touch, even from the invisible, leaves a trace. If you open these portals without awareness, you risk entangling your soul with energies that can distort your desires, confuse your emotions, and bend the path of your destiny. What feels like a gift one night can become a chain the next. What appears to give light may, over time, drain your very essence. The key is not fear, but discernment. You are a portal, a meeting point of realms. Your task is to stand in awareness, to cleanse and protect your energy, to recognize which encounters uplift and which devour. Only when you claim that authority will you see the deeper purpose of these visitations. They are not punishments. They are invitations, calls to mastery of your own power, to conscious navigation of the unseen. So ask yourself now, in the quiet of your heart, have you ever felt the invisible embrace? Have you awakened not with the memory of a dream, but with the certainty that something ancient and otherworldly has touched you? If so, you already know what it means to walk as one chosen. And this is only the beginning, because beyond these encounters lies another mystery, one where desire burns but the body itself refuses to move, a silence imposed not by choice, but by the soul's own command. Have you ever stood at the edge of desire, every sense alive, only to feel a sudden and undeniable stillness flood your body? The chemistry was undeniable. Your mind said yes. Your heart pounded with anticipation. And then, without warning, an inner voice whispered a firm, "Not this one, not now," and everything froze. To many, this silence would seem like rejection or dysfunction. But for those who are chosen, it is neither. It is protection. The world has many names for such moments: frigidity, fear of intimacy, emotional detachment. Yet these labels belong to a culture that sees intimacy only as a meeting of bodies. Your experience tells a different story. For you, intimacy is not just physical contact. It is soul into soul, a merging of energies that creates a contract beyond the reach of words. Because every act of union writes a code into your spiritual DNA, your higher self will never allow a connection that could fracture your essence. This is why, when an encounter is not aligned with your destiny, your spirit rises like a gate and locks itself against intrusion. It is not denial. It is design. It is the sacred seal of a soul determined to protect its own blueprint. Society cannot see this holiness. Friends may wonder if something is wrong. Partners may misread your pause as rejection. Even you may doubt yourself when the silence lingers for months or years. But the truth is that nothing is wrong. You are being kept safe. Periods of unexplainable abstinence are more than quiet seasons. They are times of gestation. While the world assumes you are inactive, your inner life is anything but. Your soul is rearranging energy, purifying wounds, weaving new patterns of love and purpose. It is creating a future that requires a level of wholeness casual relationships can never support. During these times you may feel lonely, even defective, but that ache is not emptiness. It is metamorphosis. The chosen one's body becomes a living temple where every entrance must be holy. Your spirit knows that intimacy is covenant, a blending of frequencies that cannot be undone without cost. Because of this, it would rather hold you in silence than allow a connection that scatters your power. It is a fierce, merciful defense, one that refuses to let temporary pleasure compromise eternal purpose. This sacred restraint is not punishment. It is preparation. The universe is not denying you love. It is preserving the rare power you carry until the right soul, the right season, and the right destiny arrive. When that moment comes, the seal will lift. The union awaiting you will not merely satisfy the body. It will ignite every layer of your being. It will awaken your destiny and prove why the waiting was worth every unanswered question. So when you feel the quiet barrier rise between you and a potential lover, remember, you are not broken. You are being protected. You are being refined. Your abstinence is not a cage. It is a cocoon, and when you finally emerge, love will meet you at the frequency of your calling, not the appetite of the world. There is a mystery that chosen ones carry like a hidden current, a pull that seems to defy logic, the unshakable attraction to wounded souls. You may notice it the moment you step into a room. Before a single word is exchanged, something in you detects pain the way a tuning fork responds to sound. You feel the quiet ache behind someone's smile, the storm they never speak of, and your heart moves toward them as if drawn by an invisible thread. This is not weakness, nor a need to play the hero. It is written into the blueprint of your spirit. Chosen ones radiate a frequency that both soothes and awakens. Those who are hurting feel it instinctively. Without knowing why, they find comfort near you, as though your presence itself is medicine. Your compassion is not merely emotional, it is energetic. Your very field invites healing, and the wounded feel that invitation long before they can name it. But this gift carries a quiet danger. In the desire to help, you begin to absorb. You feel their sorrow as if it were your own. Take their heaviness into your body. Carry their scars in your spirit. What begins as tenderness can become a silent transaction. You give and give, attention, energy, even the intimate sanctuary of your body, until fragments of yourself are left scattered across lives that may never give anything back. Sexual connection in this state ceases to be a meeting of equals. It becomes sacrifice. Your own vitality becomes the balm they unconsciously seek. They walk away lighter, and you're left depleted, unsure why you feel so empty after something meant to be joyful. This pattern can repeat for years because part of you hopes that by saving them, you will heal yourself. Their pain mirrors wounds you may not yet have faced, and you reach for them as if repairing their heart might finally mend your own. Yet salvation cannot be borrowed. You cannot complete yourself through another's transformation. The magnetism remains until you learn the sacred boundary. You can stand in the presence of pain without becoming its container. You can hold light steady without letting the shadows consume you. This is the initiation hidden inside the attraction. It forces you to discover where your compassion ends and your selfhood begins. Breaking the cycle requires courage. It means noticing when a relationship is built on rescue rather than mutual respect. It means asking hard questions. Am I drawn to this person's essence or to the ache I see in their eyes? Am I offering love or am I hoping their healing will heal me? The answers are rarely easy, but they free you from a loop that drains your soul. As you grow in this awareness, something extraordinary happens. You learn to love the wounded without losing yourself. Your presence still brings comfort, but you no longer bleed to make it happen. You become a lighthouse, steady, luminous, guiding others to their own strength instead of carrying them on your back. In this way, the very pattern that once threatened to empty you becomes the training ground for a higher form of love. If this speaks to the quiet places of your heart, if you recognize how often you have mistaken intensity for love or chaos for connection, pause and make a choice for your own growth. Subscribe to this channel now. That simple action is more than a click. It is a declaration that you will honor your worth and protect your energy. By subscribing, you align with a community of chosen ones learning the same lesson. To offer light without surrendering their own. Remember, you are not here to rescue the world by destroying yourself. You are here to shine so brightly that others remember their own light. When you embrace that truth, relationships no longer drain you. They transform. You remain whole, your love becomes freer, and the kind of union destined for you will find its way, balanced, reciprocal, and strong enough to match the depth of your calling. For most people, intimacy begins and ends with the body, a fleeting spark, a rush that fades into ordinary life. But for those marked by a higher calling, sexuality awakens as something far greater. Chosen ones often feel, even without formal teaching, that physical union can become ceremony, a gateway through which divine energy flows. What others treat as recreation, your soul remembers as sacred technology. Long before modern culture reduced sex to entertainment, ancient civilizations revered it as a bridge between worlds. Tantric mystics, moon priestesses, and tribal shamans all spoke of the hidden power released when two conscious beings merge with intention. They understood that the meeting of masculine and feminine energies ignites a current capable of tearing open the veil between the visible and the unseen. The human body, they taught, is a living temple, and sexual energy is its holiest fire. This memory still lives inside you. Perhaps you have felt it as an instinct to set the scene before intimacy, lighting candles, breathing in rhythm with a partner, or speaking words that feel more like prayer than seduction. These gestures are not random. They are echoes of an older wisdom carried in your spiritual DNA. When desire is approached with reverence, every breath becomes a key, every movement a language, every heartbeat a signal to the realms beyond. At the height of such union, the ego dissolves. Pleasure stops being an end in itself and becomes ignition, a burst of creation where body, mind, and spirit vibrate as one. The experience can feel cosmic. Colors swirling behind closed eyes, sounds that are not heard but felt, a sense of touching infinity. This is why, for the chosen, sexuality can feel less like a private act and more like a holy invocation. Yet power always carries risk. To open portals through sexuality without awareness is to invite forces you may not recognize. Some energies arrive as allies, guides, healers, protectors. Others come to feed, to drain, to tether your essence to frequencies that distort and confuse. Throughout history, this is why sacred sexual practices were carefully guarded and transmitted only to those who had faced their own shadows. True mastery requires humility, clarity, and the willingness to treat pleasure as offering, not conquest. When practiced with that reverence, sexual ritual becomes an act of creation rather than consumption. You do not merely seek ecstasy, you channel it. The energy raised in your body is directed outward as light, as prayer, as a force of manifestation. Every pulse of desire becomes fuel for healing, art, and divine purpose. The chosen one does not lose themselves in passion, they expand through it, becoming a conduit through which heaven touches earth. Perhaps you have felt the instinct to honor intimacy in this way without understanding why. Maybe you have wondered why casual encounters leave you restless, while moments of mindful connection feel like gateways to something infinite. That is your soul remembering. It remembers that sexuality, when aligned with spirit, is not merely human instinct but divine technology. If you recognize this call, treat it with care. Prepare your heart before union. Enter with intention, clarity, and prayer. Protect your energy as you would a sacred flame. When you approach desire as ceremony, every encounter becomes a portal, every breath a prayer, every heartbeat a bridge between worlds. And as you honor this gift, you will discover that sex for the chosen one is never only physical. It is cosmic creation, the meeting place of heaven and earth within your own body. From here, the journey deepens even further. Beyond ritual lies the ultimate transformation. The moment when desire itself is no longer about another person or even the act of union, but becomes pure purpose, the force that fuels your destiny. There comes a threshold in the journey of the chosen where sexuality ceases to be a private storm that crashes against the limits of the body and becomes a prevailing wind that carries the soul toward its destiny. Up to this point, desire may have felt like a fire looking for wood, something to consume, something to burn bright and then fade. But for you, the fire is learning a new language. It is no longer asking merely, "Whom shall I touch?" It is beginning to ask, "What shall I become?" In this shift, desire is transfigured. It stops demanding release and starts demanding meaning. It stops insisting on a moment and begins insisting on a mission. And suddenly, every pulse of energy inside you is not an interruption to your path, but fuel for it, a sacred current longing to be directed into creation. Service, beauty, and truth. You have tasted echoes of this already, though perhaps you did not have words for it. There were days when the longing that rose in your body could not be satisfied by another person's touch. Nights when passion spilled not into a bed but onto a page. A canvas, a melody, a blueprint for something the world had not yet seen. You felt the unmistakable difference. The body's ache did not disappear. It was lifted, elevated, turned into a force that moved through your hands, your voice, your decisions. The sensual electricity that once sought an outlet became vision, courage, focus. And when you followed it, when you let the current of eros be braided with prayer. Work that once felt heavy became weightless. Ideas that once hid behind fog stood clear in the light. And actions that once terrified you felt inevitable, even simple. That was not self-control alone. That was transfiguration. To reach this place is not to deny the body, but to enthrone the spirit within the body's temple. It is to realize that pleasure is not the enemy of purpose. It is the spark that purpose knows how to carry without being burned. The mystics understood this and hinted at it in every age. They spoke of devotion as a kind of marriage, of vocation as a holy union, of the soul's embrace with the divine as ravishment and rest all at once. They were not being poetic merely for beauty's sake. They were naming a biology of spirit. They knew that the same power that creates life in secret can create life in public. Hospitals, songs, shelters, inventions, movements, reconciliations, forms of love made visible. To the untrained heart, desire is a river that floods and then recedes. To the awakened heart, desire is a river that turns turbines, lighting 1,000 lamps. This is why attempts to suppress longing fail, and attempts to indulge it endlessly fail as well. Suppression suffocates the spark. Indulgence dissipates it. Transfiguration directs it. You do not put out the fire. You build the hearth. You do not deny the current. You give it a channel. And this is where discipline becomes liberation. When the wave rises in you, you have learned to ride it toward your altar, your craft, your calling, your prayer, rather than letting it crash against the first shore it sees. The result is unmistakable. Instead of moments of relief, you build a life of radiance. Instead of a cycle of chase and emptiness, you move in a spiral of offering and increase. But transfiguration is not magic, and it is not accident. It is practice, intimacy, covenant. First, you make a covenant with truth. You name honestly what wakes in you, without shame and without theatrics. You admit when you are lonely, when you are hungry for touch, when you long for the gaze that says, "I see you." Then, beneath that confession, you ask a second, fiercer question. What is the deeper form of love this longing is pointing me toward right now? Sometimes the answer will be union with a partner who can hold your destiny with reverence. Other times the answer will be labor, yes, labor, the sacred exertion by which a vision is carried from the unseen into the world. There will be seasons when the holiest use of your desire is to pour it into prayer, art, study, service, or the gentle, revolutionary work of changing one person's life with your presence. Second, you practice custody of attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. The chosen learn to treat attention like oil in a lamp, not water in a ditch. You bring your gaze back from what drains you, endless scrolling, counterfeit fantasies, the gravitational pull of comparison, and you consecrate it. You look again at your assignment. You look again at the faces entrusted to your care. You look again at the line on the page that asks for the next sentence, the chord that asks for the next note, the blueprint that asks for the next line. In this way, attention becomes devotion, devotion becomes focus, focus becomes fruit, and with each small act of fidelity, desire discovers a home that grows rather than a hole that deepens. Third, you make your body an ally rather than an adversary. Transfiguration does not bypass the flesh, it sanctifies it. You learn rhythms that let the body become a willing instrument, breath that calms, movement that grounds, rest that restores, nourishment that steadies. You treat the nervous system as sacred wiring instead of a stubborn enemy, guiding it gently toward coherence so that when the surge comes, it doesn't shatter you, it powers you. The very sensations that once overruled your clarity begin to amplify it. The same heart that once raced with confusion begins to beat as a drum for courage. There will be resistance. Old patterns will call you back with polished lies, that you're missing out, that you are too intense, that you are asking too much of yourself and others. But you will also notice what those patterns cost you, the dimming of vision, the frayed edges of peace, the creative drought that always follows indulgence without meaning. In those moments, remember the taste of transfiguration, the way purpose makes pleasure deeper, not smaller, the way service turns solitude into strength, the way a single hour of aligned creation leaves you more satisfied than a week of distracted seeking. Remember how you felt when you poured your longing into something that could outlive you. and choose that memory as your North Star. A paradox waits here, and it is this. The more you let desire become purpose, the more intimacy can become holy again. Not as escape, not as anesthesia, but as celebration. When you have learned to carry the fire, you can share it without fear of being consumed. A partner is no longer a place to hide from yourself, but a witness to your becoming. The union is no longer a bargain struck in loneliness, but a chorus sung in strength. Two lives agreeing to build a cathedral of meaning from the same bright flame. And whether you walk that path in covenant with another or in consecrated singleness, the fruit is the same. Your yes to purpose turns private longing into public blessing. Look back over your story and see how each season has prepared you for this. The visitations from the unseen taught you that energy is real and must be discerned. The silent abstinence taught you that protection is not punishment but preparation. The attraction to the wounded taught you to love without losing yourself. The rituals taught you that the body is a temple and pleasure a prayer when offered with reverence. All of it was scaffolding for this moment, when you hold the fire and it does not scorch your hands. All of it was rehearsal for the day when desire would no longer ask to be satisfied, but would ask to be sent. And now you are ready to send it. You are ready to convert hunger into hospitality, thrill into courage, ache into architecture. You are ready to say, let this energy become a home for the homeless, a song for the voiceless, a vision for the hopeless, a shelter for the weary, a table where the hungry find bread. This is the final alchemy, the transfiguration of private passion into public mercy, of personal longing into collective light. You do not abandon desire to do this. You honor it so deeply that you refuse to waste it. You refuse to let something so powerful end in a moment when it could become a movement. If you listen closely, you will hear the future calling from within the very place where longing begins. It is not saying stop. It is saying come higher. It is not saying deny yourself. It is saying discover yourself, your truest self, the one who was always meant to turn fire into form. This is the secret, the why. World rarely names and the chosen ultimately live. Sexuality was never only about union with another. It was about union with your reason for being. When desire is transfigured, you do not become less alive. You become fully alive. Your work bears the fragrance of devotion. Your relationships carry the weight of honor. Your nights are not a battlefield of impulses, but a sanctuary where purpose and pleasure learn to speak the same holy language. And when you walk in that language, you do not merely survive your desire. You reign with it. You build with it. You bless with it, until the very energy that once threatened to scatter you becomes the crown by which your destiny is recognized. Stand here with me at the edge of this new country and take one long look back, not to reopen old wounds, but to let the pattern announce itself as clearly as daylight. The nights that startled you awake, the seasons when your body closed like a temple after sundown, the gravitational pull toward the broken, the instinct to turn intimacy into ceremony, the moment desire stopped begging for relief and started asking for meaning. None of it was random. You were not a tangle of contradictions. You were a curriculum in motion. What once seemed like scattered chapters now reads as a single book, authored by a hand that knew where every sentence must land. Your life has been a consecration in slow motion, each experience setting a stone in a foundation sturdy enough to carry the weight of your purpose. You did not lose your way. You learned your way. Think of how carefully you were taught. When the unseen touched you, you learned that energy is real, that your body is a portal and your spirit a steward. When abstinence sealed you, you learned that protection is not punishment, that a closed gate can be a covenant to keep you whole while your destiny ripens. When you were magnetized to wounded souls, you learned the bright boundary between compassion and collapse. How to love without becoming an altar where your own heartbeat is the sacrifice. When ritual found you, you learned reverence, the difference between consumption and creation. And when desire was transfigured, you learned the sweetest truth of all, that longing is not an enemy to conquer, but a power to cultivate, a current that carries you toward the reason you were born. You can feel the shift inside even now. The old accusations no longer fit. Too much, they once said, but intensity is what a star feels like from nearby. Too complicated, they complained. But complexity is simply what wholeness looks like when it stops apologizing. The room hasn't changed, you have. There is a steadiness in you, an unhurried gravity that comes from knowing where your energy goes and why. You no longer bargain your essence for a handful of attention. You no longer call chaos chemistry. You no longer confuse hunger for love or velocity for vision. You have become a keeper of flame, calm, watchful, kind. Let us make this practical, because crowns are not only for ceremonies. They are for daily work. Begin each morning with the simplest consecration, hand over heart, 1 minute of slow breath, and 3 truthful sentences spoken aloud. My desire is not my enemy. My body is my ally. My purpose is my direction. These lines seem small, but they are anchors. They return your nervous system to safety and your imagination to service. When the surge rises in the day, the ache, the thrill, the restlessness, do not shame it or rush to spend it. Ask the question that has already changed your life. Into what beautiful form shall this energy be poured? Then choose one concrete action that converts the wave into work. Write the paragraph, craft the melody, plan the offering, send the message, book the hour that serves the vision. Evidence will accumulate quietly. You will end more evenings with peace than with regret, more projects finished than abandoned, more relationships strengthened than tested. Guard your thresholds. The chosen are not ascetics by accident. They are gardeners by wisdom. Prune what steals light, habits that scatter attention, screens that siphon presence, conversations that strip you of dignity, even as they flatter your ego. Replace them with practices that multiply you, movement that returns you to your body, study that stretches your mind, silence that rinses your spirit, community that mirrors your nobility back to you when you are tired. This is not moralism. It is mechanics. Where your attention stays, your energy builds. Where your energy builds, your world takes shape. Hold tenderness for the parts that still ache. Healing is not a switch. It is a season. There will be days when the old patterns call you by your first name, promising shortcuts that always end in a detour. On those days, do not pretend to be invulnerable. Be honest and be held by God, by a trusted friend, by your own wiser self. Say, today I am tempted to trade my crown for a moment. And then remember how it feels the day after, the dimming of vision, the frayed edges of peace. Choose a better memory in advance and move toward it. This is how sovereignty looks hour by hour. Not loud, not theatrical, but faithful. Let intimacy become celebration rather than anesthesia. Whether you walk consecrated singleness or sacred covenant, you know the sign now. Real union expands you. Your vision widens, your dignity deepens, your work grows more generous. Counterfeits constrict, true connections widen. Counterfeits ask you to dim. True connections ask you to direct. Counterfeits leave you thirstier. True connections leave you taller, quieter, more creative, more kind. Measure by fruit, not by fireworks. You have learned the difference, and your future will thank you for believing what your spirit tells you the first time. Remember, too, that your story is medicine for others. The very chapters you once hid, the invisible encounters, the long silences, the rescuer's exhaustion, the holy rituals, the sweet turning of fire into purpose, are the chapters that will unchain someone else. Speak when it helps. Write when it clarifies. Create when words are too small. Your crown shines brightest not under spotlights, but in lamplight, over kitchen tables, in late-night messages, in a song sent at the exact hour someone was sure they couldn't continue. You are not responsible for saving anyone. You're responsible for carrying light. Light does the rest. If ever you fear you will forget this moment, build yourself a simple altar of memory. Not marble or stained glass, just a small corner where reminder meets ritual. A candle and a notebook, a verse or vow taped to the wall, a schedule that honors the work your purpose requires. Visit that altar at the same time each day. Sit, breathe, remember. This is how tides become rivers and rivers carve valleys, not by drama but by devotion. And now we arrive at the seal. You began this journey wondering if your desire would always threaten to undo you. You end it knowing that your desire, blessed, directed, offered, has become the engine of your calling. You began believing your sensitivity made you fragile. You end seeing that it makes you precise. You began thinking you were behind. You end standing exactly on time. That feeling in your chest right now, the warm, assertive clarity, is not adrenaline. It is alignment. It is what purpose feels like when it finally sits down in the body and decides to live there. If this has spoken to the deep place in you, do one simple thing to anchor it so tomorrow's noise cannot steal it. Subscribe now. Not as a casual click, but as a covenant with your becoming. An agreement to stay in the current of teaching, reminders, and practices that protect what was just awakened. And seal it with a visible sign in the open, comment 99. Let it mark the end of secrecy and the start of sovereignty, the closing of the old loop and the opening of the bright new lane. By writing 99, you are not asking to be chosen. You are acknowledging that you are and choosing to live like it. Go, chosen one, with a steady flame and unhurried feet. Let your love be honest, your boundaries holy, your creativity generous, your presence a quiet permission for others to breathe. May your longing power your life like a hidden river, turning bright wheels, lighting homes you will never enter, blessing people you may never meet. And when the world asks what changed, answer with the truth you now carry in your bones. My desire found its altar. My life became its light, and the fire that once threatened to consume me became the crown by which my destiny is recognized.